Welcome to Halo Effect, and please don't forget to subscribe and click that notification button.
Hello, I'm Audrey, and this is Halo Effect, and today I'm going to be talking about breaking down my three-part method that I came up with. If you haven't watched my hair journey video, I really recommend that you do watch it, because it really encapsulates and brings you up to date how I came about this through all the trial and error. I say this again and again because it's really important. One is my overall philosophy is that you can't just manage neck up or just the top of your head in order to get great hair. That great hair actually takes an entire ecosystem. The other thing is the game has changed after 50 in terms of what we're dealing with. From the hormone fluctuations to aging to how our body responds to stress, then certain hereditary things really starting to come up, or just the accumulation of the aging process of whatever we've been consuming or topically putting on, or the environmental factors that have gone in that are deteriorating over and over again our natural body's response to regenerate itself. I mean, we've got an army of things working against us that really shifts the tide. And unfortunately, which is part of my hair journey, that when I came upon this issue of the thinning hair and all the problems that I had with my hair and the shedding and the poor quality of it and just masking it with extensions and all of that, until I finally transformed that entire issue and reversed aging in my hair. There's so little out there for us, so little information, and the information is bleak that is out there. And I believe this is one of these areas where we all have to come together and collectively pool our resources and truly accelerate the process of innovation, of knowledge, of what we can bring to the party. I mean, there's so much available nowadays that's at our fingertips via Amazon or someplace else that we can get to start to work through. So I took a huge leap forward, and I just want to share everything with you. And in the process, we're going to communicate, and you're going to comment, and I'll respond, and the community will pull in, and that's how I envision it, so that we can all work together to forward and stand on the shoulders of everything that's already been researched. And of course, there are certain cases where you're going to have to get a high level of intervention scientifically, and or some damage has been done potentially that can't be reversed. But I'm on the side of, we can do miracles. So that's really where what I've proven and where I start from. Okay. So my methodology is broken down into 3 parts, and I'm going to tell you what they are, and then I'm going to go through each part and what it means. So the 3 parts are broken down fractionally by 20% focus on one, a 20% focus on the other, and a 60% focus, which means, of course, that this is the bigger bulk of what you have to weave between your days and weeks and months in order to keep things moving and transforming. And then 20% on the other one. But you got to have your eye on all 3. It's just how much of the time or attention needs to be spent on it is broken down by what I figured out as that fractional breakdown. Okay, so the first one, the first 20%, is what I call nape to heart. So the nape of your neck to your heart. The second 20% slice is what I call strengthability. And the third part of the methodology, which is 60%, is the microbiome. Okay, so let's start first with the first slice of 20%, nape to heart. What does that mean? Well, like I said, it's the nape of your neck to your heart. So what there is to focus on is not just the scalp, like, are you putting things on your scalp that are good for your scalp? Are you getting massages on your scalp? No, it's more. It's actually from nape to heart. And the reason why is this. So let me explain a little bit about that I found. And that is that think of your scalp like soil in land that has to produce high quality, very nutritious, fully blossomed crops. We would know that if there was something wrong with the product that was coming out, the plants that were coming out, we would look to what? We would look to the soil, right? maybe there's a water issue, so it's a hydration issue, but first we'd look to the soil. Is the soil being tended to? Is the soil nutrient dense with the right nutrients given the environmental circumstances? Is the soil being taken care of in response to the environmental circumstances? And of course, is it getting the proper hydration? Because too much hydration can damage the plant and not enough, right? So there's that whole balance that happens. Well, our scalp is very, very, very similar in the way that it's not just what you're putting on top of your scalp, but it's also what's coming up through that's feeding into the scalp. So as an example, what you eat, right? Vitamins you take, supplements you take, food you eat, when you put that in your body, what your body does is it takes the nutrients that it needs. And of course, after 50, we need different things or more of certain things or less of some things. So there's got to be a change already with what you're consuming, what we're consuming. But what you consume will go toward, your body will provide your organs first and foremost. So whatever it is, if you're not giving your body the right things, then it'll feed whatever organs it can, and some will suffer, but it'll go there first. If you're giving it good enough, then it'll handle your organs. At the very, very last, it goes to feed your skin, your nails, and your hair. Now, ironically, what are three of the things that change and that we have problems with as we start getting, into 50 and through menopause and on the other side of menopause? Your skin, your nails, and your hair. So not only are we already at a deficit in that area experiencing problems, as our needs change, and depending on what we're eating, if it's going to the organs first and it's going, hey, last, too bad, too late, too bad, what's going to happen is your hair won't get what it needs and it will start to shed more and more and start to shed, right? Or it'll grow a poor quality, or a number of things. And they just want to chalk that up to, well, that's aging. No, not exactly. It's making sure you know what to give it and how you work with it. So that's the first thing about what goes into that scalp to make it, like the soil, make it really nutrient dense. So we got to make sure that's handled. The other thing is that blood is what brings, right? Your blood is what carries all those nutrients all over your body and feeds everything. But the problem with, especially right here, the top of the crown, the problem with your scalp is it's difficult to get blood to flow and stay pulsing, right? Just thriving up in that area to the top of your head. And most of us don't do headstands every single day. So how do you do that? So that's where massage and different techniques come into being very, very important in the process, because you want to drive that blood, not just because of you want to get those nutrients up there. You want to send blood up there for healing, the turnover, the collagen, everything that's needed for your hair, but also for the oxygen of it, right? So you're sending everything up there, and that's important. There's certain things that you need to do. Like, a lot of people don't realize that just deep breathing exercises or high impact workouts, just all of that oxygen that you're pouring in and out and getting rid of the toxins actually is really going to assist hair growth, hair quality, all of that. Now, massages, right? So massages, again, maybe you occasionally massage your scalp. Maybe the only time it gets a full-on massage is when you go to the salon and they shampoo your hair and condition your hair. You get that wonderful treatment, and that's really awesome. But that might be every 6 weeks or something, right? This is something that part of the techniques that I'll give you and I'll be sharing with you about that I have in my routine are smaller amounts, but every single day. And you can try different things. I'll give you lots of different types of directions to go and things to do. The other thing about it is that I researched that aside from growing hair, how much different is our scalp from our actual skin? Now, it's not different. Again, besides growing hair, it's not different. And that just gave me like a light bulb went off, and I thought, well, if it's not much different, then I know for sure my face, I'm constantly attending to. If you're like me, you carry around serum, especially if you're traveling and going in the airplane, or maybe you drink too much coffee or had alcohol or certain something. You have to balance out your hydration and your water that you're managing, and facials and spa treatments, and you know, humidifying your skin, and the masks that we put on, the moisturizers. I mean, there's could be layers that you're putting on, pore minimizers, all of these things that you're constantly attending to. And it makes sense because we have to look at ourselves in the mirror every day, and that's the first thing that we see, and also the way that we're received in the world, that's the first thing that they see. So we're just very conscious of this all the time. But what if everything that you did constantly throughout the day, all of that actually applied to your scalp? Like if you just thought about extending that skincare all the way over here, you're like, wait a minute, Audrey, are you saying you would put your skin cream on your scalp? 100%. Not any skin cream, but the ones I'll recommend to you for sure. Even like hyaluronic acid is actually really good for your scalp to help. It's one of the many things that I've used to help regrow hair and spark up those areas and enliven things that need to be enlivened in that area. So I don't stop my serums from here to here, or even from here to here. I extend it all the way. Now, why is it so important also to say nape to heart is because, you know, you want to extend massages and certain things that you do all the way to the heart, again, for blood purposes, for the full circulation. And if you want this to be alive, producing collagen and turning over its cells and regenerating, you can't just constantly work with this or even this and this. This is the whole part of the skin that you're wearing, the whole part of that needs things. So that 20% is I have all these things between ingredients and products and manipulative processes that I do to make sure that nape to heart is taken care of. So that's portion. The second of the 20%, other 20% of the three-part method is strengthability. What is strengthability? It's kind of like it sounds. It's strength, so being strong, and also the ability is flexibility, so strong and flexible. This pertains to your actual strands of hair. So if you think about most of the things that damage hair, I've stopped doing or I've really pulled back. So for instance, something that weakens hair. So I think a lot about what weakens the actual strands of hair. What weakens hair is heat, the constant heat. What weakens hair is bleach and color and all of those things, right? So I'm not saying don't do them, but it's that check and balance. So in order to have great hair and have it last and have the wonderful quality, and when you do a style, it bounces back or it holds the style and you don't have to put 10,000 things, or shine, you want it to be shiny, natural, all of those things comes from you being able to manage those two things, strength and flexibility. So my hair has to be strong. Our hair has to be strong enough that it doesn't break, that it can hold a style, that it'll hold its shape, but it also has to be flexible enough, right? So that it can bounce back. And that if you're brushing and brushing it, it's not just going to break off. So there's this constant balance. For instance, if your hair has too much product in it, or you're doing too many things to make it too strong, it'll break. Too much infusion of protein, it's just too rigid because it doesn't have that balance of flexibility. If it's too moisturized, there's actually a thing of being too moisturized. If it's too moisturized, then it's too flexible. It'll just be lifeless and hanging there, and it's not strong enough. It just might be flexible, and at some point it'll also just ping apart, right? So you want that perfect balance. And at any given time, it's like a tightrope. At any given time, you need to adjust what you're doing with your hair. For instance, when you get your hair colored or bleached, right, the product in it first has to open up the shafts that go into a hair follicle so that you can pull color out or put color in. And then there's a process that goes to close that cuticle of the hair, right? But if you continue to do that and you don't manage the process, what it looks like in a microscope is like a tree that's just been hacked into and hacked into. There's holes, like openings in it. And if you do it enough, right, what happens when you hack a tree? If you hack a tree enough, eventually it'll break. So what you're doing with natural products or with store-bought products, right, based on either science or natural ingredients or a combination of both, is you're filling in those holes. So you're filling back in with protein, with different kinds of fillers, so that your hair, even if you're damaging it, will still be strong. So that's where, like, oh, if I'm getting my hair colored, for instance, if I color my hair, what I'm doing is I'm managing it a certain way for the strength before I get my hair colored. During the coloring process, there's certain things that are put into it, and post color, I'm managing a certain routine in order to make sure it's strong, fill in those holes, manage, don't want it to break. Then normally, then I go back to balance out the moisture and that flexibility. So I'm constantly balancing them, but sometimes they need more. If I'm out in the sun, or there's certain environmental things that I think are drying out my hair, or every few days, every day I put moisture in my hair, but I notice it gets more and more depleted. I know it needs a certain bump up. I'm watching, I'm looking, I'm understanding. My hair and I were in a dance together, right? So I'm listening, I'm watching, I'm looking, and I can see. But if you balance this at any given time, your hair will maintain its growth, it will thrive, it will hold styles well, it will respond to light well, so where it shines, all of those things that you would love for your hair. It'll grow in, it won't be patchy and thinning. This is what you want, because the first part, right, accounts for the hair, the quality of hair that's growing out. That's the nape to, or it's the quality of hair that's growing out. But this second part is what keeps the hair that's on your head in the best shape it possibly can, so that it maintains. The third part, which is the largest one, the 60%, the microbiome. This really was the breakthrough, because I really started to, when I started to look at what reverses aging, how do we reverse issues that we have, or things that maybe we've had hereditarily, but over time they've got worsened and worsened. Like if you have certain allergies or certain things, that's a big thing we notice at our age, that allergies might start increasing or become more, where we're almost sensitive to absolutely everything. And constantly any cold or any flu or any product we'll have a reaction to, a lot of those things start accelerating in terms of our body's need to fight it off. And if your body's constantly fighting something off, it never has any opportunity to rebuild itself and to protect itself. It's going to get weaker and weaker and weaker, and thus, your hair starts falling out, or it starts looking really bad or thinning. So when I looked into this research, one of the things that I thought was so incredible about reversing aging, or many of the things that we deal with, was the microbiome's role in our health. Our microbiome comprises more than 50% of who we are. It's way more than things that we inherit, like epigenetics. It is a large part, and our microbiome isn't even human. These are bacteria and fungi. These are little alien microscopic parts that are living on us. And I know that when I say microbiome, a lot of people will say, or small amount, because most people don't know what microbiome is, and we'll be talking a lot about it, obviously. They'll say things like, oh, you mean your gut health? Not necessarily, yes, and there's more to it, because you have gut microbiome, you have skin microbiome, you have oral microbiome, you have scalp microbiome. These bacterias and microscopic organisms can be in different places at different times in terms of their aliveness, and whether it's good bacteria, bad bacteria, all of that. And a major problem that we have is that so much of what we put on our hair and our skin is killing bacteria. Well, when you're killing that bad bacteria, you're killing all the good bacteria too. And you need that good bacteria. So imagine something that's over 50% that should be working in our behalf, that is over 50% of the reason why we're sick or not, well or not, overweight or not. A lot of these things have healthy, dental state or not, falls under microbiome, And we're just either killing it off with all of these bacteria killing things, or we're just unrelated to it at all. So when I got that, I got really interested in being aware of how can I become more engaged in the process of how my microbiome is interacting in the state that's in. And it seemed pretty natural as a process or a thought process for me to feed it live things like good bacteria, other living things in which it will thrive and go, great, I love that. That's making me feel really great, you know? So there's a whole practice or things that I do in order to interact with the bacteria. So I'm constantly making sure that I'm generating and regenerating things that make the microbiome happy. Okay, so that's my 3-part. I know, I've been asked so much about what I do or how I was able to transform my hair and reverse the signs of aging. And my hair, month after month, I have to tell you that when you look at the state of my curls, when I first, in the images of my hair journey, when I first started going through it, my curls were nowhere near this tight. And as time goes by, my texture has gotten healthier and healthier and healthier and healthier upon healthier. My texture has become tighter and tighter, and it's just fascinating to me because it's sort of like every month that goes by, I'm like, really? That's what my hair's really like? Nope, not yet, because 3 more months from now, I all of a sudden experienced a whole other level of texture. So it's going to be fascinating to see this continue to unravel as my hair grows out and see what happens with it, because it is such a new world to me to have this hair. And anyway, please feel free to comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.